Gen Z is far less concerned with traditional authority structures compared to previous generations. They value open communication, honesty about mistakes, and leaders who don't pretend to have all the answers. Welcome back to Tell Me More with me, CJ Quarterbaum. Tell Me More exists to help create intergenerational, transformational leaders in this world, in whatever spaces you find yourself occupying. I'm here today to talk with us about two, I think, very foundational traits that lead to building connection with Gen Z. And they are transparency and authenticity. And both of those start with trust. Because without trust, what do we have? Trust is the foundation for all relationships. Trust is what bonds us together. Trust is what makes us feel safe. And when we feel safe, we are able to show up as our full selves, able to give the best of all that we have and all that we are. Gen Z is generally more mistrustful and skeptical than previous generations. And that makes sense. They grew up in a world full of failing institutions, social media, the internet, images and mirages, and almost this inability to tell what is real from what is fake. And so they have a lack of trust, which means that for us as leaders, for us as people who want to connect with and educate and understand this group of people, we're fighting an uphill battle. Building trust is essential for creating harmonious classrooms and workplaces. See, without trust, everyone is walking around guarded. Everyone is walking around almost in this fight position because they don't know if they're safe or not. So without building a sense of trust, we're never going to achieve the results that we are looking for. And I think the way to do this, the way to build this trust is by cultivating transparency and authenticity. This will lead to what we're looking for. I actually believe that cultivating these traits will transform your workspaces. Trust, transparency, authenticity, these are non-negotiables for Gen Z. This is a generation that craves, that demands realness. And if you're fake, they can spot it from a mile away. And they want nothing to do with that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. So many generations before them have gotten by, politicking and, putting on a good face and wearing the mask. And what Gen Z wants more than anything else is for us to drop the mask and just be real. Just be honest about who we are and where things are and what we are. And that will create an atmosphere of trust that allows us to do whatever it is that we are here to do. Don't be afraid. I actually think that this represents an incredible opportunity for us. By embracing transparency and authenticity, you can create a genuine connection with them, which can lead to deeper relationships. Deeper relationships lead to greater collaboration, which in turn leads to greater outcomes. I learned this lesson in my first semester as a college professor. If I'm honest, imposter syndrome got to me. I don't have a PhD. I didn't have the credentials. I didn't have the classroom experience. I thought they made a mistake in hiring me. And what happened was this imposter syndrome, it walked with me into the classroom. But little did I know, it became my competitive advantage. It became my secret leg up that I was able to use to create these harmonious classrooms, these open and engaging classrooms, these classrooms where we went deep. We would go to places that you would never expect to go. And a part of that is because I didn't take myself too seriously. Because I thought I didn't belong there, I almost had to figure out a way to feel like I belong, to let them know like, hey, I am here with you. I'm here for you. And so what can I do? What can I do to earn your respect almost, to prove myself? I unintentionally created an environment of transparency and authenticity. I used my insecurity to my advantage. I didn't take myself too seriously. I smiled a lot. I cracked a lot of jokes, but the one transformative thing that I did was I ended every class with a time for random questions. It didn't matter what we talked about that day. I'm like, hey, let's leave on a high note. Ask me some random questions, whatever you want. And I would get questions about everything from my favorite pair of sneakers to my deepest fears. But in a class that is designed to create dynamic discussions around what could be controversial or sensitive issues, me showing up as the person who's like, hey, let's just talk. Let me tell you about myself. Let me tell you what I'm afraid of. Let me tell you what keeps me up at night. Let me tell you the ways in which I struggle with some of the concepts that we're working through. It opened the door for my students to feel like this is a place in which they could do the exact same thing. The greatest example I have of this was when the war broke out in Israel and Palestine. Being on a college campus, we'll say the political leanings leaned very much toward the Palestinians and fighting for their rights, fighting for freedom in Gaza. But there was also a large Jewish population on the campus. And in one of my classes, I had a young woman share about the conflict that she feels as a Jewish woman. She said, I don't support Israel. I don't support what they're doing. But at the same time, I have cousins who are in the IDF. And they are just soldiers who are doing what they've been told to do. They're not evil people. And she goes, the problem is, I can't talk to my friends about this. Because when I talk to my friends, everything is, man, F Israel this, F Israel that, we hate them and those people are evil. And she's like, but my family isn't. How do I show you that I support everything that you're saying and you believe and you feel, while also saying that there is a very real personal impact on the family side for me? Wherever you land on this issue and this subject is fine. What I want you to see is that because I led the way by creating this environment of transparency and authenticity and openness, she felt like she could sit in this classroom with 23 other people and share these feelings in a way that she couldn't with her closest friends. As a leader, as you go, your people will go. As you go, your classroom will go. You are the thermostat. You set the temperature for the conditions of how things will be in your rooms. And the temperature that I set was one in which we can be honest and open and vulnerable, and we can share our struggles. The amount of students I've had who've cried in my classes, sharing their stories and sharing their feelings and opening up about the deep things of life, created these deep connections. So much so, I'm sure they're watching this, I have a group of students who, they refer to themselves as my minions. They were my students their freshman year, and now as juniors, they've been coming to my class every single semester and just sitting in. And they've kind of started a trend where other students want to do that as well. And I like to believe that I'm really not that cool, but it's because of the environment and connections that we created that I've now won their trust. I've won their hearts in some ways. And it's allowed us to share honestly and openly. And that's what Gen Z is looking for. They remind me all the time that I'm an old man and we are not peers, but there's a level of respect and trust there that if one day any of them ended up working for me, which I hope you guys do, you're really talented and I could use your skills. If they ended up working for me, we instantly have a level of collaboration and respect and trust because of the environments that we created together. Your class and team will follow you. As the leader, you operate as a thermostat. You set the temperature for how things will be. So if you are honest and open, they will be too. Remember, trust breeds safety. When people feel safe, they give you the best version of themselves. Gen Z is far less concerned with traditional authority structures than previous generations. They value open communication, honesty about mistakes, and leaders who don't pretend to have it all together. Building trust means letting go of old tactics. I think it's easy to default to the old way of doing things where you say, I'm the one in charge, therefore I should automatically have respect, control, all of those things. But what we see from this new generation is they are more likely to respond to collaborative, empathetic leadership. Something as simple as taking a passing interest in them, asking how they're doing, remembering things, while you may feel like has no place in the workplace or in the classroom. In reality, this is what they're craving. And I think it makes us better people to treat the humans in front of us like humans and not just another piece in the puzzle meant to help things run and keep them going. Gen Z wants to know that their leaders are flawed and figuring it out just like them. So when we open up and we share stories of how we struggle and how we're trying to figure it out, what that does is it builds credibility. Some of us have been in our jobs for so long that there's a level of institutional knowledge there where we just have the answers. But what Gen Z needs to see is that we didn't wake up that way. And it helps them see that, yes, you too can one day reach this position. Let me tell you how I struggled when I was in your position. Let me tell you the ways in which I'm trying to figure things out from my new position. You build credibility. You build trust. You build a sense of mutual respect. These weird bifurcations that we like to make where I'm up here and you're down there and there should be no intermingling of the two. That's no way to live with people. You spend far too much time at work with these people to treat them that way. Every human is worthy of dignity and honor and respect and validation. And if you are a leader, then you should be on the forefront of that. You should be the one dishing out respect and dishing out validation and empathy more than anyone else. Because again, you as the thermostat, you're letting everyone know this is how we operate around here. When you choose not to do that, when you choose to say, hey, we don't need to do that whole empathy thing and I don't need to show you respect and you need to bow down to me, all you're doing is creating an environment of distrust and creating an environment in which people are disgruntled, and you will experience a high turnover rate. And if you don't, because the economy is crazy and people are like, I just need to stay in my job, what you are going to get is a less than optimal version of your people and ultimately of your team and ultimately of your product or service, because people don't have their full selves available and there for you. And you might be thinking to yourself, CJ, I hear you, but I shouldn't have to do this. I shouldn't have to, be all empathetic and respectful. Like, I'm the authority. I've worked hard. You should just respect my title and do as I say. But think about that. Would you want to learn from someone like that? Would you trust someone like that? Would you want to work for you if this is the attitude that you bring to the table? Finding moments for connection costs you nothing, but it can give you everything. This doesn't mean that we do away with hierarchies. Hierarchies in many ways are good. But what it does mean is that we search for moments to show connection, to show humanity, to show that we are not more valuable intrinsically because of the title that we possess. Sometimes, I think, we ascend to these places and we think to ourselves, we're so high and mighty and we're up there. I don't care who you are or what position you hold. None of us are so untouchable that a single phone call couldn't change our lives. And if we remember that, and now walk with the humility of that truth in our lives, how do we see the person who might be 4 or 5 rungs below us and say, hey, I'm a human just like you. If you cut me, do I not bleed? Some ancient Roman said that. But really, you create these connections. You create these connections with this generation that's asking for it. How much more can you be? How much greater can you be? These moments of connection don't have to be grandiose and over the top. Small acts can lead to strong connections. Sharing personal stories can build an atmosphere where people feel comfortable being themselves. These moments lay the foundation for deeper engagement in the future. You will garner true commitment and engagement in return when you show that you're approachable and you're human. With that said, be wise. Every part of your story isn't for everybody. Be judicious and appropriate in what you share. You're creating moments of vulnerability and authenticity and transparency to show that you're not an NPC. That's Gen Z slang for non-playable character. It's apparently those characters in the background of games. I'm learning things here. So as you watch this video this week, I want you to enter your classrooms, your boardrooms, your offices more authentic, more real. Show up as your full self. Drop the pretension that can come with a title or status or position. I learned this from the writer Mark Sayers, who talks about Australian leadership not being so caught up on hierarchies. Australian leadership not taking itself too seriously. They're more laid back down under. They still respect the hierarchy. They still recognize its position and the importance of it, but no one looks at their title and thinks of themselves as being so far above. My hope is that maybe this week we could be a little more Australian in our leadership, a little more laid back, a little more humble, a little more empathetic, and recognizing the humans in front of us. But what do I know? I'm just some guy from Brooklyn.